As the Lord would have me here, so I'll go ahead and pray since I haven't talked to anybody about praying. So please bow your heads. Lord Jesus, thank you for this day and this time to be here at this beautiful facility. We pray that you'll help us be good stewards of your creation and make good decisions for the citizens of our state and really to honor you in all that we do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
So the first item on the agenda is the minutes of the May 19th meeting.
Motion.
I'll make a second.
A motion, Mr. Benz, and seconded.
Minutes, and I moved it. Yes, sir.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
These are all available for public viewing if anybody wants to see them. Next, we have today's agenda, which was published ahead of time, and I think we may have a few modifications to the agenda.
Chairman, we'd add a few things to the agenda if we could, please, sir.
Yes, sir.
Under other business, we're gonna have just a general land discussion. Jack Stone is gonna give us a little update on some of our shooting facilities around the state, and he doesn't know this, but Mr. Teal is gonna give us a briefing on John Kyle Golf Course under other business.
All right.
And other
In
business.
addition to the agenda.
Okay. Anything else that needs to come for the agenda? Okay.
I move we adopt the agenda.
All right. So
I'll make a
motion
second.
made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? All right. Next, license sales. Jason Thompson. And questions, the microphone's picking up okay? You good? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we have another good report for the month of May. Our revenue is up over $272,000. Resident license sales, however, are down 1%. WMA permits are up 3%. 3-day freshwater fishing up 6%. Senior exempt licenses 12%. And the all-game apprentice license is up 6%. Our non-resident license sales are up 4%, $433,000 more than last year. Both of our fishing licenses are up. The 3-day freshwater fishing up 3%, and the annual license up 2%. In our permit category, sales are down 2%, and lifetime licenses are down 5% compared to FY21. The WMA app downloads for FY22 were at 14,400, 10,886 iOS users, and 3,981 Android users. So far, 56,798 have set up for auto renewal this year.
Right.
And license packages 28,498 sold this year compared to 23,696 last year.
For the mayor and the judge's information, 90% of the revenue for this agency comes from license sales. So obviously we're interested in people that buy hunting and fishing licenses.
And Jason, the total budget for the year, what would that be?
Total budget
For the annual license sales for the whole year?
typically is around 18 million.
This 18 million, and
Yeah.
it's annual budget right there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Annual license sales.
Annual license
Does
sales.
that include the matching fund?
No, that doesn't include the match. Just the hunting and fishing and permits.
Right. And Pittman Robertson does. Yeah. Go ahead,
18
Larry.
million.
18 million, there it is right there.
And we should exceed what we did last year in terms of revenue.
And Pittman Robertson dollars, how does that work? We take all those revenues?
I'm gonna get some help.
If I might.
Yes.
So
Mr. Teal.
we have to have, obviously, the budget authority, then we actually have to have cash to spend up front. Those monies are written as grants, all our fisheries, those grant eligible bureaus. And once we spend it 100% up front, we can draw down $7.
So the 18 million is the number that's based on?
The 18 million is simply revenue this agency receives that it's eligible for us to use as match.
As match. There's other dollars you can use as match too.
Sorry.
You can use other revenue dollars as match also.
You can, but that's the main source of revenue.
Okay. I was just pointing that out, just make sure everybody understood that license sales are so important because we are able to leverage it and get a lot more money for the state, you know, with that. Any other questions for Jason? Good. That's great, appreciate it. Public comments, do we have any public comments? There. Okay, wildlife, Russ Walsh, he's the head of wildlife. We appreciate you being here.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, actually, Larry's what's your title? Larry. You were head of wildlife.
He goes where the lunch is also.
Blame me for that. So for our section of the agenda today, last month we brought to you Rule 7.1 that deals with nuisance animals. And the primary changes to this rule dealt with the transportation of wild hogs, which changed by statute this past legislative session. So this rule would now reflect that the transportation of live wild hogs would be banned in the state. And that would now be a Class 1 violation. And we've received no public comment on this rule, so we would ask if you so choose today, this rule could go final if you so choose.
Motion.
Okay, motion to accept.
I second it.
Okay, motion made and second. Question? Any discussion?
What is a Class 1 violation in wildlife's mind?
$2,000 to $5,000 fine and loss of right to untrapped fish for 1 calendar year.
Yeah, so it's step by step.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Russ, can you give us this? We got a motion and a second in the discussion. Just for the public, can you just give a real summary of what this does?
So we know that transportation of hogs across the state has allowed for populations to increase in some areas and actually populations to start in some areas. So this, in conjunction with folks in agriculture and forestry and wildlife, this will be a way to stem some of the tide of hogs movement across the state. So this would now, again, there was a permit system in place prior to this rule and prior to this statute where hogs could be moved by special permit as allowed by the agency. Now that permit system would be gone away, and it would simply be, unlawful, illegal act to move live wild hogs on a public road from one property to another property in the state, wherever it may be.
Okay, thank you. The motion is made and second. Any further discussion? Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so Judge Mcleod, you might have some hog violators or transporters come to you at some time.
Last thing for us, Mr. Chairman, just a quick CWD update for you. So our sampling years are from July 1 to June 30th of each year. So we're about to begin our new sampling season, and each year when we do that, we also update our CWD zones. So for this coming sampling year, and certainly for this hunting season, there will be 4 new counties that are added to CWD zones. There won't now be any new zones created, but there will be 4 additional counties that are added. And those will be Claiborne, Lafayette, Prentiss, and Tishomingo. And all of those counties are being added because of additional positives that were detected within 10 miles of those counties, or actually, in the case of Tishomingo, almost on the county line there. So those counties will be added to the CWD zones this year. That's Claiborne, Lafayette, Prentiss, and Tishomingo counties. We'll roll out those new zones here in the next week when the new sampling season starts.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a question. Appropriate time.
Yes. What was the county? Claiborne, Lafayette, Tishomingo, what was the other one?
Prentiss County.
Prentiss.
Correct.
So Prentiss and Tishomingo are that northeastern corner.
Correct.
And Claiborne, obviously Lafayette is where Oxford is. So.
Now Claiborne, excuse me,
No, go ahead.
we actually, the deer was in Louisiana.
Tensalt bear.
That's correct. But it is, so on the Louisiana side, it was less than a mile from the Claiborne County in Louisiana, and then just across the river, less than 6 miles across the river from Claiborne County on the Mississippi side.
Is it on Davis Island?
Just south of Davis Island.
Just south of Davis Island. That's an what kind of a cutoff land in where Mississippi's on the Louisiana side of the river, and then the big river's right there, and Mississippi's right there. Commissioner Benz, go ahead.
Mr. Walsh, now, are we in Panola County right here?
Correct.
All right, so if the CWD is detected out here on the mountain there somewhere, the whole entire Panola County goes into the non-feed zone, is that correct?
That's correct.
Am I reading that correctly? Correct. And if for some reason, why have we geographically, what's our geographic around that detection? Is it just the county line, or is it a distance radius? I'm not real sure. I'm not following that.
So per the CWD management plan, if a positive is detected in that county, it certainly goes in the zone. If there are other counties that are within 10 miles of that positive, they would go in the zone as well. So let's say that it was found on the eastern side of Panola County.
Yeah.
Panola County would go in, and likely Lafayette County would go in. In this particular case, Lafayette County, the most recent Marshall County positive that we found was approximately 3 miles from the Lafayette County line. So Lafayette County would go into the further management plan as well.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a problem with all that, but I know this is probably not the time to discuss it. We don't have a plan. What is the plan to fix CWD? Just
We need to have
management zones in place?
We need to have a seminar on that. It's a complex issue, for sure. There's a lot to it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what, do we have a plan?
We have a
That's gonna
management.
eliminate
We have a-
CWD?
There's no elimination of CWD. We wish there was. There's no elimination of it. What we got to do is have best management practices and be as proactive as we can to mitigate the disease.
Yeah, it's something that's why I thought we need to do a education session, get William McKinley and Russ and everybody. It's a terrible disease, and
We've got
always
a
been.
positive in the state of Louisiana, and if I misunderstood it, tell me I'm wrong. We got a positive in the state of Louisiana, but we're implementing a CWD zone in the state of Mississippi in Claiborne County.
That's a stretch.
But we also,
That is an absolute stretch. But anyway, I get it. I understand. I want to make it clear that
It is the history. Other states, but this plan is exactly what Tennessee, Missouri, Arkansas. It's called Missouri Plan. Alabama, we're doing kind of the same.
I think it's also important to note that, yes, Claiborne County is being impacted by Louisiana positive, but we also have positives in Warren County and Nisqually County that are immediately adjacent. I think it's also important to note that we have deer that are radio collared inside of the CWD zone in Warren and Nisqually counties. One buck we have who has gone across the Mississippi River into Louisiana, gone over 18 miles multiple ways. We also have a doe that's gone over 22 miles from that CWD zone. So we know deer are moving much further than thought for.
I agree they do move.
I would contend it's not a stretch to include Claiborne, given the way the deer are moving back and forth out of these zones and across the river.
Well, you can content that, but I give it content that it is a stretch to me. So,
The river.
State line.
I'm certainly not arguing, I wanted to provide
I
that
got you.
information.
and I do know they move. I mean, they did the deer study on my place, and one went like 22 miles or something
Yeah,
like that.
that's right.
Or maybe 14. I don't know.
Yeah, those Yazoo deer and all
Yeah,
that.
they do that. Has Louisiana, have they, like the Warren Issaquena, have they implemented?
They did when we found CWD. They
So
did.
that would be like what is that, not Washington Parish, but East Carroll Parish, I think it is over there.
They have 3 parishes for sure that are in their zone right now.
And then they shut their counties down as well.
And Tennessee did the same thing. When we found up Marshall, Tate County. Then they later found it in Tennessee.
The point is, we're stopping feeding, but they're still going to food plots and eating the same food plots that they eat at. So if there's not a way to fix it, just because feeding in the beginning years, I remember Mr. Larry Castle when I was in the legislature, he was vehemently opposed to feeding. So now, all of a sudden, since we have CWD cases, we're just gonna shut feeding down, but we don't have a plan that's gonna fix it. And so,
The banning of supplemental feeding is part of the plan to mitigate the spread of it. It's not the feed itself, it's the concentration of the animals, which the unnatural concentration of the animals is much different than a food plot mechanism. So those animals come into that feed site day in and day out, day in and day out, can exponentially increase the spread of CWD, and hence the ban on supplemental feeding to mitigate those deer from coming to the same site day in, day in, day in, day out.
well, Russ, I'm not here to argue with you, but they go into the same bean fields every day out in the Delta. And we're not gonna tell the farmers to quit growing beans or corn or whatever. I mean, they're going to the same ones.
But I think we both know that a feeder here and, you know, maybe a 20-foot radius right here that they're going to day in, day out is not the same as a large scale bean field. They're not going to the same spot on a bean field, eating on the same exact plant like they are at a feed site. And that's the difference in the mechanisms.
But Rush, the enclosures kills that theory because you hadn't had a positive test in any enclosure since y'all been taking CWD tests. So I don't know that I buy it, but they all eat out of the same troughs and they're confined to a certain size piece of property.
But if CWD was present in that enclosure, then that feeding in those troughs would accelerate the spread of the disease.
Maybe the state ought to get one of the enclosures and figure out what CWD will do.
Now, if we get an enclosure,
deer in there and see what it'll do.
correct me if I'm wrong on this, if we get a CWD enclosure positive, we're killing all the deer in the enclosure, right?
No, it's up to the commission. It comes to us.
What's the recommendation to wildlife division?
Well, it would depend on whether there's CWD immediately outside of that enclosure or whether that enclosure is the only place we know we have CWD in a large geographic area.
Okay,
So
we
need to
know we
decide.
only have CWD in a 500-acre enclosure. What is the wildlife's recommendation gonna be on euthanization of the animals in that enclosure?
If, going back to your question about elimination of CWD, could you eliminate the positive animals in that facility, eliminate those animals? You could do that, and that may mitigate the spread outside of that enclosure.
So we would kill every deer in the enclosure.
I think we would have to, if we get that case, I think we would have to discuss the best course of action.
So the way that the legislature tells with the legislature when they pass their law, what it says, it comes to the commission or something?
Well, per what statute says now, that we would work with the enclosure owner to develop the best course of action
Plan.
to mitigate CWD in that enclosure or outside.
I was just saying, this is what the law says, the legislature.
Rush, have we ever trapped or captured a CWD deer prior to its death?
Not,
Everything's been dead and then it was tested, right?
that's correct. We have some deer that we get radio collared in both CWD zones. We don't know at the time of their capture whether they were CWD positive or not, but it could be that those, when upon we get the collars back or we find them deceased, we would do testing on them, and they could have possibly been CWD positive, but we handled it. We don't know that. So.
Okay. Wouldn't it be good if there's any way we could dart a deer of CWD prior to it dying
And go put it in an enclosure.
and go put it in the enclosure?
Well,
To see how, then we answer these questions of how quickly it spreads and everything else.
A controlled enclosure.
Yeah, right.
just a couple.
Study.
I mean, just a couple of things I've done the last couple of years. I called the head of Illinois Department of Wildlife. We had some discussions. In Illinois, they were able to go in where they found it, and they were able to go in and they do go in and they killed every deer within a certain area. But the difference is they got these big, huge fields, little woodlots, and so deer they've been a little bit effective at stopping it in those areas. But Mississippi and in the South, you know, we have habitat they're everywhere. You can't. It's impossible to eradicate. It's what I've all the people I've talked to, that's what they think. So it's just so far we don't have a good solution.
But what this is going to end up doing is going to end up taking supplemental feeding out of the whole state before it's over with, and I think that's wrong. We worked very hard to get that. This commission, I know, prior to my involvement, worked very hard to do that. And until we figure out how to fix it, we're punishing everybody in the process. So I'm done talking. We can move on down the road.
Mr. Chairman, I got a motion.
Thanks for the discussion, though. It's a good discussion.
I got a motion.
Thanks, Russ.
If you'll recognize me.
I got recognize Mr. Coster for a motion there. Related to CWD.
But it's related to CWD. When we adopted the program, the CWD plan, we had a lot of things that we did, and a lot of it's been positive. But I would just want to go back just a few years. When I was a kid, we didn't have any deer. I mean, it's just zero. Start going to football games at Mississippi State, and they had a big fenced-in area over there. And you won't believe the bucks that were in there. 50,000 people came every weekend. They went to the ball games. They also went by and looked at the deer. They were like me, a young kid. So people start saying, how in the world are they growing them deer like that? They're feeding them. They're giving them protein. They're making them better. They're making them more healthy. They have better fawns. They grow bigger horns. Everybody believed in that. I'm talking about this 30 years ago. So everybody started supplemental feeding where they could. Food plots. When I was a kid, we didn't ever plant a food plot. We didn't have any supplemental feeding because we didn't have any deer. But on my place right now, there's one behind every tree. So what I'm saying is I believe in supplemental feeding. And I also don't understand all it is about CWD. But when we adopted our plan, once you got into CWD zone, there wasn't an expiration date on that. After this date, you come out. It wasn't we don't have an exit ramp to get off out of the CWD zone if you don't find any sick deer for a number of years. So I want to propose an amendment to the CWD plan that any county currently in the CWD management zone, after 3 years and no positive deer have been detected, that county would be removed from the CWD management zone. All of the provisions in the CWD plan would remain in force. I think this will take 3 or maybe 4 counties out of the CWD plan. And what I'm saying is no deer is detected in 3 years. And I know one county that's been almost 5 years. They come out of the zone. Now, if you find a deer the next year, they go back in it. This is an exit plan, an exit ramp to get out of the CWD zone. And it's strictly, my plan is strictly for supplemental feeding.
Is that your motion, Chair?
My motion is that we adopt this after 3 years and no positive deer is found, then you come out from under the plan. That's my motion.
Okay, we have a motion, and who wants to second it? All right, Gary Rhodes seconded. What further discussion we want to have? Leonard? No? I can't believe that.
I'm ready to vote.
I'll say my opinion is I agree with Bill and I support the concept of an exit ramp. I just think it should be a little longer. We have a case study of Mississippi and the last Issaquena deer detected. I think the one we found in Warren in that area was, I believe, if I'm correct, was 3 years and 9 months after that. So I just think that, I feed on my properties, where it's legal, and I think it's great. But I do think it is like putting gasoline on a fire where you have it. And it doesn't cause CWD, but if you have a feeder, as Russ said, the sign shows that it does, they congregate and spread. So that's why I would want a little bit longer timeline on this. So that's why I would vote against this motion. But that's just my reasoning, so let's have the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, motion carries 4-1.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one last CWD question. For the Wildlife Division. Does the rule that's in place now regarding supplemental feeding, if there's a CWD detected and we put it in the zone. Does that also include mineral sites as well?
New mineral sites, so there's one there, I can't eliminate it, but it includes establishing new mineral sites or adding minerals to existing.
Okay, thank you. All right, law enforcement, Colonel Jerry Carter.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good morning.
Morning.
All righty.
Jerry, are you gonna discuss like what went on yesterday?
I can, sir.
I think it'd be real, I'm not sure all the commissioners, know what we did up there. I mean,
Yes, sir.
what's going on in
Yes,
the raising the salaries.
Yes, sir. Yesterday, the North Region conducted a meeting there with all of our officers in the North Region. And in that meeting, we had the HR department to come by and discuss the new SEC 2 that went in effect, will go in effect July 1, where our conservation officers are going to get a salary increase. They're going to be bumped up from what they're making now. So look at about 10% raise. That's basically what they're getting. So we're smiling. Everybody's pretty happy right now.
There was a bunch of happy people over there yesterday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But thanks to HR working with us and Colonel Scotty and a few others on the staff, they did an outstanding job, and thank Director Posey as well. Everybody did their part to try to get it through, and we're smiling. Everybody's pretty happy. Yes, sir. Thank you all. Thank you all for the support. Mr. Chairman, Law Enforcement Bureau reports their for the month of May, there are a total of citations that were issued. For the month of May, there were a total of 951 citations, the top 5 being 242 for no license, 132 for no boat registration, 130 for PFD violations, 73 for no WMA permits, and 36 for reckless operations.
Is that reckless operation, is that mainly boating?
Boating, yes, sir. Yes, sir. It addresses the boat.
And since we have Judge McClure here, in these citations, when a county prosecutes, all that revenue goes to the county, right?
That's
correct.
Yes, sir.
So
That is correct.
none goes to this department or the state.
Only the restitution, right?
That's right. Yes, sir.
And how many, what percentage of cases don't get prosecuted or moved? Yeah, just roughly, I was wondering.
That does not get prosecuted.
Well, like this, they don't get prosecuted or go through this.
It depends if that individual wants to challenge it in court, but normally they pay it out of
I
court.
mean, are there any judges or counties that just don't take them up? Or?
It depends if they want to go to court. The individuals themselves want to go to court and
Yeah.
try to beat it that way. But percentage-wise, it's very low. They never
Okay.
challenge it.
Now, we had a JP several years ago in Grenada County. If it was a game violation,
Yes, sir.
he ain't paying attention. of course.
But that's a smaller percentage.
He got-
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
sir.
good. That's what I was asking.
He got beat.
Our judges have, throughout the county, judges have been very supportive
Yeah,
of
the judges
supporting our law enforcement efforts as it relates to the game and fish laws of the state. So we're very appreciative of them. On the next page is our Memorial Day weekend, our report for May 30th, May 28th to May 30th. Just want to say to 180 officers, they did an outstanding job during the Memorial Day weekend. Had an opportunity to get out with some of them as well and see their enforcement efforts. And we just want to, this here is a chart of everything, what we did basically on citations and voters that we encountered throughout the Memorial Day weekend. So I think officers did pretty good enforcing and getting people to come into compliance on our voting.
8,000, 8,280 voters that you contacted?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, I was just looking at the numbers are jumping out.
Yes, sir. Also on our next page, that's one of our officers, that's Lieutenant Marion Pearson there. I had the opportunity to work with Renata Lake and Enid Lasardis. That's him doing a BUI check there, sobriety check there in the waterway. Lieutenant Pearson, along with a few other officers throughout the state, he serves as our coordinator, boater and hunt aid coordinator. Does all those guys, they do a fantastic job training and getting our officers prepared for the boating season. Whether it's BUI, we're in the process of sending some of those officers, really all 6 of them, to Florida for BUI training to become instructors to teach our guys and update them on our BUI laws. On the next page is our North Region officers. They do this every year in Tupelo. They do the Fallen Officers 5K run. Every year our officers basically, we participate in it. And if you look at number 313 there, that's going to be Officer Braden Reynolds out of Calhoun County. In his age group, he won first place in that 5K run. So congratulations to him and congratulations to those officers that participated. It is a very, very good event. A lot of law enforcement officers throughout the state come out. It is a very, very good program that our officers participate in. At this time, I'm going to yield the floor to Mr. Chad Touchman. Chad's going to give you all the report on our shooting ranges, and I'll return back.
Evening. Just wanted to give an update on shooting facilities. We've got 3 beautiful facilities in Mississippi. We are in the process of completing a sporting clay trail in South Mississippi, which is underway right now, and we're really excited about it. Our totals for last month, McIver Shooting Facility hosted 421 guests. Turcotte Facility in Canton had 667, and the McHenry Facility had 485. We're doing a lot of great things on those shooting ranges. Our MSSP program is really growing and really reaching a lot of youth shooters, and it's a great asset to add to the Pittman-Robertson dollars y'all talked about earlier. Shooting sports is a huge contributor to the Pittman-Robertson dollars, and our shooting ranges are doing a great job, and we're really doing everything we can to bring the sport, safety, and everything else to the forefront.
What McHenry, you think, let's look at it near Wiggins?
Just south, about 8 miles south of Wiggins, yes, sir.
Yeah. So how long do you think before you get the construction finished?
I think probably a couple months. We are underway, and it's kind of hard to get some materials right now and some things like that, but we're overcoming all of that. And, we've got the station set right now. We should have some machines pretty soon, but we're doing everything we can to get through the difficult times we're in right now.
How will it compare to here as far as the size?
It's a little smaller than here, but it's going to be just as capable of hosting events as this facility. We actually have an extra skeet field there, so we're looking to host the MSSP state shoot down there next year, and the regional shoots down there next year. So it's going to be a great addition to the shooting ranges across the state. That facility is doing great anyway, and
yeah.
Just adding that sporting clays is really growing event. It's definitely.
It's easy to get to. I mean, if you cut through going at Wiggins, cutting through and coming, come out right at the Boulder Barge.
Yes, sir.
But it's on the way. I mean, it's right there.
Yes, sir.
Pass right by it. So it's a lot easier to get to than McIver.
Yes, sir.
You think you lost when you're coming out here.
That's right.
So Joey Buchanan over there in the corner. If you don't mind, I'll put you on the spot. Tell us your role now and what you're doing here.
Gary Holcomb has been the manager here for a couple of years, I guess since it started. I met Gary through the MSSP as a coach, and kind of fell in love with the program. And was in a position in my life to change jobs. So at 60 years old, I'm with y'all now. Loving it out here. Been here 3 weeks, and just want to add something off what Jad said about the MSSP. The kids, our kid program, and Jad correct me, is the largest sporting plays that we have in the United States when they come here. 1,000 kids that shoot here and Turcotte and down in McHenry. So I I got into this through Chad and Gary several years ago, so, that's how I went from the sixties and into my seventies and been part of it. Thank y'all for that.
Great for the children.
Good to have you.
Might I add, he coaches my godson in shooting over in Oxford.
And Gary Holcomb, tell us about yourself too.
I'm Gary Hall. I've been here with the department since 2017. Got to watch this place come up just recently. I'm taking over our MSSP, the Mississippi Scholastic Shooting Program. So I'll be heading that up for
And how many kids are involved in the whole state?
we should have around 1,200 to 1,500, I would think, this year. We should have a little over 80 schools all over the state now.
And you live up here?
Yes,
You
sir, I live in
you live in Oxford, so good.
And Billy, y'all correct me if I'm wrong on this. Can we get the State Department of Education to sanction these things? They're not sanctioning them, are they?
No, sir, we've kind of kept under the Department of Wildlife Control.
Yeah. And we have a shooting competition in the Olympics, in the Summer Olympics every year, and I think even in the Winter Olympics when they shoot those 22s and skis. But because a gun is involved, we can't get our educators to put their educational hat on and say, hey, let's educate them how to properly handle a gun. And I remember when I was a kid, we had the hunting classes at the school. And I think some of them might still do that. But
From the school boards and principals and administration, we've had really good success.
those
with
minutes.
being, you know, what they want to get in these schools.
well, y'all do a great job.
We'll find out.
Thanks, Gary. It's great to have you in that role, and that's such a important high growth area, you know, for schools, kids all over the state. It's just fantastic. And yeah, I think y'all the facilities y'all have here in Turcotte and McHenry, I know it's nice what you have there now, but it's really world class. So just let us know what we can do to help you guys and support.
Mr. Chairman, before I present our reinstatement, I'm going to let our council come forth on our waterway at the Pascagoula area there.
Mr. Chairman, last month we presented proposed Rule 2.6 on no wake zones on the Jordan River at Mcleod Water Park and at the Steamer Restaurant. This was mainly an amendment of a pre-existing rule that was kind of vague as to the boundaries of no wake zones. We have since filed the proposed rule. We've had no negative comment, and we're now presenting it to you for final adoption.
I make a motion.
Okay.
I'll second your motion then.
Motion's made and seconded. No wake zone with Jordan River. As set forward. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion
Chairman, I got
carries.
to back up on one.
All right.
I did a little fact checking on Mr. Coster here.
Ooh, Lord.
Two things I've got a problem in his statement that he said. He said when he was a kid, he would go to the other problem that I have, a Mississippi State football game.
I did go over there, but it's been a long time ago.
And then he referenced 30 years from when he was a kid, and I'm calculating those 30 years.
30 years we didn't have deer, but we got them now. Let's put up with all this, Jimmy.
Last but least, we have an individual here for reinstatement, Mr. Bannon Teal. And this incident happened on December the 26th, 2020. Officer Carrie Fulton, along with Major Kevin Fulton, she had received a call from a residence there in the area in reference to hearing 2 gunshots near the subject's home. Both Officer Fultons responded to the call and went to the area, unable to find the vehicle. Thereafter, they conducted just a random search, and they came upon the vehicle with the subjects is present, the gentleman that's present with us here today, and discovered that there was a headlighting violation that did occur, and I will yield the floor to Mr. Teal to let him tell you all the rest of the story.
Welcome.
Glad to be here and be present. I was just wanting to request reinstatement from all of y'all for my hunting license to be reinstated. It's a really stupid mistake on my part, and you know, it was a neglect to the wildlife, but it also wasn't fair and it was immature. Buddy come over to my house and wanted to hang out, ride around, take some back roads, just hanging out. So we did. Got to riding around. It got pretty late, and he was like, "Hey, there's a bunch of deer. You gonna try to shoot one?" I said, "You know, I ain't never spotlighted one before." I said, "You know, it'd be easy. Ain't nobody on the road. We ain't gonna get caught. So that'd be fine." Well, we did, and we got caught. We didn't even get out the truck, and game wardens approached us, told them what happened, told them, "Look, I shot the deer." I said, "Sorry." I went to jail. It's been a year and 6 months, I think, since that. Not been able to hunt, not been able to fish. You know, that's a big part of my life and my family, to be able to take nephews, nieces hunting and fishing. Also, food-wise. You know, we love deer meat, we love catfish, bass, crappie. Just ask y'all would reinstate.
So, are you sorry for what you did? Or you apologize? Or?
Yes, sir. I apologize, not to just
Not to
y'all,
us,
to the officers that was there, and to, you know, other sportsmen, because it was unfair to them. You know, I took advantage of it, and, you know, it was unfair to the game.
What? Any safety reasons why you shouldn't be shooting like that?
Not knowing what's behind the
Yeah.
target, not knowing, you know, if somebody's out there, anything, and then, you know, it's just neglect, firearm shooting in the middle of the night.
I appreciate his honesty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do
I'll
too.
make a motion.
Well, wait a minute.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Colonel's got a,
We appreciate driving all the way from Raleigh.
yes, a long way from up here, so you've got to be serious about this. And,
Yes, sir.
and to me, you look like you learned your lesson. I don't think we'll ever see you again in this
No,
condition.
sir.
Maybe you can tell other folks, you know, in your part, Smith County, I guess, or
Yes.
Raleigh. Yes.
They put you in jail?
Yes, sir.
Handcuffed you.
Handcuffed me, jumpsuit, whole 9 yards.
Oh, got the jumpsuit too.
Yes, sir.
huh?
What about your guns? You get them back?
No, sir.
Not gonna get them back.
It was my buddies that I was with. It was actually his gun.
What about your buddy? Did he get the same treatment? Same.
Yes, sir.
He doesn't want his license back? Have you
He's-
talked to him?
I have talked to him. He said that he's just gonna hold off and wait till his 3 years was up.
So how much money did it cost you?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, like $4,800 to bond out of jail and everything.
A lot of deer out there in
Well-
the daylight, as you can see.
Yes.
I appreciate you coming up
Yeah.
from Raleigh. I've been to Raleigh. You know, it's a long way from Raleigh to Mcleod. So you're sincere and you're honest, and we appreciate you coming in here. It's hard for you to come in here and admit being dumb.
It is. I'm not gonna lie standing before y'all now. I'm nervous as I ever been. But what I did was wrong, and I know it was wrong. And regardless of what y'all's decision is, you know, I want to apologize.
Okay. Well, teach them nieces and nephews that you're taking hunting and fishing. Tell them what you did, and for them not to ever do the same thing.
Yes.
Colonel probably won't.
We all make mistakes, so as long as you learn from them, that's what's important, I think. Colonel, what would be your recommendation and thoughts on this?
Yes, sir. Our recommendation is that he's met all the requirements, so we make the recommendation to reinstate Mr. Teal.
Motion.
Okay, motion to reinstate.
I'll second the motion.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Be reinstated. Thank you for coming.
Well, I appreciate it.
Appreciate your honesty.
Y'all be safe traveling back home.
All right, thank you.
Colonel,
Yes, sir.
did you tell me you went to a meeting, a law enforcement regional meeting
Yesterday,
yesterday?
Yes, sir.
North
Are
Mississippi.
y'all gonna have one, or have you already had one down the coast?
I'm extending the invitation to you now, sir, tomorrow at Paul B. Johnson.
Okay, all right. What time?
We'll start at 0900.
Okay. All right,
I got there for lunch. You didn't have to go
I
to
got
the whole
I
meeting.
got a board meeting in Perry County, 9:15, so I might have to be a little bit late.
That's fine. We'll be glad
But,
to have you.
I know we had a discussion, these are related to the salaries, right? Of
Yep.
the law enforcement.
Yes, sir.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, do we set the commission, set the salary of the colonel and the lieutenant colonel?
I think we do the colonel.
What about the lieutenant colonel? And was he a part of that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, I would like to make a motion that we set the colonel's salary at least to what the colonel of the Mississippi Highway Patrol makes. I'd like to make that motion if we're the ones that are gonna set that. So, I don't think that that's out of line, putting him in the same category as the colonel with the Highway Patrol, so.
I think that's been the, what we've done in the past. I'm almost positive of that. I'm not sure we did it by I'm not sure how it happened, but I do know I remember we raised Colonel Adcock up to comparable with the colonel at the Highway Patrol.
But the lieutenant colonel was handled in the readjustment with the
Yes,
state
yes,
personnel.
sir.
All the majors, the sergeant majors, lieutenants, captains, right on down the line, everybody. Even the ones that started in February, they got a raise.
Good. They deserve it. Well, I make that motion that we set his salary at least to what the colonel of the Mississippi Department of Public Safety Highway Patrol makes.
Wait a minute, lawyer.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Is this executive session thing?
Yeah.
It would be more appropriate for executive session, but I believe we're still a little too early in the SEC square conversion part. But that's an excellent directive, that can be, given to staff as we pursue the whole conversion.
Do we, I thought the rules say that we set the salary,
Correct.
not the state personnel board.
We don't know where the MHP person is.
Okay, so I follow you now, and I agree with that, because we do need to get that set. But I don't think it's a executive session decision. I mean, his salary is public information, but I agree, so I hope that we can do that. I know we kind of discussed that a few months or a couple months ago, okay. Well, is he gonna have to wait for another commission meeting for us to make the approval on the thing, or why would we just not accept the motion as meeting whatever the Highway Patrol's, the colonel's salary is, where he doesn't have to come back to us? And, you know, I think that would be appropriate if we're willing to set his salary at what the colonel of the Highway Patrol would be making. Why would we not just make the approval based on what the new outcome of squared, what'd you say, what? SEC squared, you know?
All right, we have
That's my motion.
Okay. We have a motion, have a second?
I'll second that. We're gonna do it.
Okay, any further discussion?
I got a question.
Question?
Are we just automatically giving a raise compared to another state agency department?
That's
my motion.
So
That's
you
the
get the
motion.
same number of men, you have the same duties, I don't know. I don't know what MHP's commander does and the responsibilities, versus how many men. I don't know. Before I vote on that, or I want to make this statement, before I vote on that, I want to know the duties and everything. I don't want to just arbitrarily say, because none of them make enough money.
Yeah, I don't think
I'm
the
a
colonel of the
law
Highway
man.
Patrol.
None of them make enough money.
Right.
I don't know if the MHP director makes $200,000 or $150,000. I don't know, so, you know, if there's any way, Commissioner, Vance, I would wish that we could table this and discuss it and take action next, but you've got a second.
Would you be willing to table it till
I'm not.
next meeting?
I respect my fellow commissioners down there. And he is pro-law enforcement, make no mistake about it.
It's been 16 years.
Yeah, he's a law enforcement man.
Chief.
Okay.
I found this.
Just, since you know, how many officers do we have under law enforcement under you?
Right now, currently, with including, we have a total of 183 sworn officers.
And how much total staff do you have under you at this point?
Command staff, I have approximately about between 8 to 9 staff under.
So 180 plus 9 or 10?
Shooting facilities, do they come under you as well? And
Yes, sir.
Does that include that?
we need to hold all of them.
We've got what we call hybrid officers, basically. We've got officers in law enforcement capacity from wildlife and I think also from fisheries. So they're included in that number, including the shooting ranges and I think if I'm correct, shooting sports. I think all that's a part of the law enforcement, what we're carrying right now as well.
And that calls all under your direction.
Basically, yes, sir.
But I've done it for 33 years so far. When you give raises, all 33 we have gave employees raises, not this commission, but somewhere else I work. When you do that, you go all the way up and down the step plan. And it's a little more complicated than just throwing out a figure. That's all I'm saying, guys, is you're gonna get things out of whack if I possibly could get things out of whack. I'm not against anyone getting a raise. Like I said, the employees, my city has gotten 33 years in a row. So I have no problem paying folks. I just don't want to mess up. Y'all have a step plan and all that in place? That's all I'm asking. Let's look at it.
What about it, Posey? What do you think?
Well, you know, commission decision, we are in the process right now trying to sort through a lot of stuff with the pay raises for everybody. And July 1st, the pay raises kick in, including, I think, one for the colonel. So we will have to go back, if y'all make this decision, we probably have to try to go back and look at, you know, possibly realigning other folks. And, you know, well, not just off the top of my head, do we have the money to do it? I couldn't tell you. It might take a while to refigure, since we really don't know what's kicking in exactly yet on the SEC Square stuff.
So question if.
Well, we're meeting with our officers and telling them what's happened with the SEC Squared. We did it yesterday, day before yesterday, and we're doing it tomorrow. And
Well,
so
we think's gonna happen. And then, you know, I think.
well, we're making a big mistake if we go on a meeting with our officers and tell them what we think's gonna happen, because if it doesn't happen, we've got a big issue on our hands.
Well, I mean, it's every state agency's in the same situation.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'd say I'm pretty sure it would happen, it just hadn't happened.
Question if we have a motion that's been seconded, if it was not voted in favor of today, but could we get the information that Commissioner Rhodes is asking for before the next commission meeting? I mean, I don't think anybody's against,
That would be no.
you
That
know,
would be
compensating
best not to
chief,
jump
but
out
it's
of the
just,
regular line of order.
but it's just, we don't
Hey,
have.
I'll tell you what I'll do. If we can get a commitment from the department that we can have an answer by the next commission meeting, I will withdraw my motion.
On the new salaries?
Where we can make a decision on the salary, the only salary I think that we set.
Yeah, I can get y'all that.
Yeah.
When it goes into effect July 1st, it will be one way or the other.
We'll make it
You
effective
good with
July
that, Gary?
1st.
Yes, sir.
I will withdraw my motion, but please, I'm leaning on y'all that y'all told me y'all will have those numbers by our next commission meeting, so we can make it happen.
Well, we're talking about this commission being able to set one person.
One.
So that, the only reason I want to, and I appreciate what you're doing, is I want to make sure that when you give raises, you don't whack everybody out of the truck. You know, your chief making $35,000 more than the lieutenant or assistant chief or whatever. That's only where I want to go.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't help morale, I don't believe.
And do we have the highway patrol numbers? Can we get those?
Yeah, we can go.
That's part of it, what we would need to see that too. Yeah.
I wish we could set everybody's salary, but unfortunately, the only salary, I thought we had the lieutenant colonel as well, but, the only one we can set is obviously the colonel's salary.
Okay. So Colonel, we appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
And nobody ever wants to talk about salaries. It's tough, but sometimes we gotta talk about it and move on down the road.
All right, more important other business. We appreciate it. We'll take this up next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel.
Thank you. Thank you.
This election of 2022 and 23 officers, commission officers.
Mr. Chairman, I want to make a motion that, Chairman, sir, be nominated as the chairman for this, Board of Commissioners.
Okay.
And I'll make a second.
We have a motion and a second. Should we vote on these separately or together? Separate, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Vice Chairman.
The vice chair now is, Mr. Scott Cookwood here beside me, Chairman. I would love to nominate him as the vice chair
Okay.
of the commission.
And I'll second. Are you second? Commissioner Benz, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? All right. So that's done. Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Next commission meeting is in July 21st, of which, yeah, we want to do that. And then we also do have another land issue we want to speak in general terms about. I don't know if is Art gone?
He's right there on the front row.
Just in general terms, without
Wake up,
specifics.
Art.
Just give us I think we just want to give general authority to get appraisals for possible.
If there's a piece of land that's coming for sale, that gives us access to 2 tracts of land at Hannah,
Mount Mason.
that is kind of critical to our mission. This is going to be auctioned. In order for us to be able to bid at an auction, we've got to know what the state will allow us to pay for it. And in order to do that, we've got to get 2 Yellow Book appraisals. And I'm asking you for authority to do that if you so choose to purchase this property.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Motion's made. Mr. Rhodes, and seconded.
You got that, boy, if we can get that, tie it together.
And, okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Is there a need for executive session? No. Don't believe so. Larry Pugh,
I gotta add.
John Call.
This is on, Mallard Point.
Yes, yes, sir. But if I can step back real quick, you keep hearing SEC Square, and we're truly excited. I want to commend all the bureau directors and the assistant directors, because this doesn't, it's only positive for law enforcement, it's positive for every employee we have, from parks to property to wildlife to fish. This is a game changer. And we have some challenges figuring out which way to go, and we'll certainly be in communication with y'all. but we've never had the opportunity we've got moving forward to compensate our employees fairly. I'm truly excited about Mallard Point, where we're at now. I get calls every week. I'm sure some of you have gotten calls. It's taken probably 7 months to get a lease signed with a company that's going to operate Mallard Point. You may or not be aware, we had a lease with a company for 5 years that ended in June 30th, 2021, and that company chose not to renew the lease. Obviously, as a state agency, we have to do things with advertising, requesting proposals. You know, it's just taken a while. And there wasn't a lot of people fired up about getting in the golf business, like zero, until a company came along, and we were able to sign a lease with them, and they've got their equipment lease signed. They've got the golf course lease, golf carts lease signed. So we went by there yesterday. They started mowing greens, some fairways. I don't have a date for opening, but we're headed in a positive direction.
Larry, some time ago, we had some type of a pump, like $250,000 pump or something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I remember we had to go before the state, Liz Welch, I called her, so.
Yeah.
And in order to get that
An
fixed,
emergency, yes.
has that been done?
Yes, sir.
It has been.
Yes, sir. We in the interim, in the interim between signing the lease, we made a lot of upgrades to the irrigation system that had to be done.
Yeah.
This course opened in 2000, and nothing's been done much since 2000. We did some renovations to the villas. We renovated the clubhouse. We still have a ways to go. We recognize that, but we've invested quite a bit as an agency in getting that course up to speed where we can reopen.
What's the company's name that
It's interesting, Commissioner. We the individual that reached out to me, his name is Chris Sparks out of South Haven, and he's got several investors, and they formed an LLC called Mallard Point Golf Management LLC. But Mr. Sparks worked at Mallard Point the first couple of years ago. So when he and I started meeting up here, or at John Kyle, he was already a little ahead of the game in terms of his familiarity with the golf course. So, any other questions?
How long a lease is it?
Up to 5 years. It's a 1-year lease, but can auto renew up to 5 years. That's as far as we can go legally with the state of Mississippi. Thank
Great,
y'all.
appreciate it. All right. Any further questions or business? All right, meeting is hereby adjourned. Thanks.
We got a second.
A motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion second.
All right, second, all right.
All those in favor? Aye.
Got it.